Is the screen also visible to you all? Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay, linguistic varieties and multilingual nations. Today we are going to study about linguistic varieties and multilingual nations. We have already discussed linguistic repertoire, that is the languages that a person can speak. That is the part of their linguistic repertoire. So it can be any variety, like for example, it can be few words that you know from a language and you cannot completely speak that language, but you can speak somehow a little bit in that language. That is also the part of your linguistic repertoire. So um, the language that the languages that we are going to discuss, the type of languages that we are going to discuss in this class are going to be vernacular languages and standard languages. Can anyone give me the definitions, or maybe just explain what are vernacular languages and what are standard languages?
Ma'am, vernacular language is a variety which is not codified or standardized.
Yes, very good. Anyone else? Anyone else? No? Okay. So the vernacular language is a language which is not standardized. It means it has not passed through the process of standardization. And there is the what is the process of standardization? It encompasses codification. Means there should be dictionaries in that, proper grammar books, or maybe it is used for official purposes, or for the standard purposes, for high standards, right? It has high standards, means that it is followed in written language as well. So that is considered as a standard language. However, there are linguists who disagree that that there is something as a standard language. But when we talk about different types of languages, we have to say that this is a standard language and this is a vernacular language. A vernacular language is normally used in the multilingual speech community. So there are differences in vernacular language, and it varies from country to country and community to community. The reason is that you might have seen that we are talking about nations, multilingual nations. So when we say that nations, so we are talking about people over here. In multilingual speech community, we are talking about multilingual speech communities. So when we talk about official language or national language, we are actually talking about countries. But when we say vernacular language or standard language, we can also say that it is we are talking about communities as well, multilingual communities as well. It's not just countries that we are talking about. So a vernacular language is any language which has not been standardized, and which is not codified and has not attained any official status, right? That is a vernacular language. Vernacular language is normally considered as the first language of the multilingual community, which they have acquired. And um, and and as I've told you before, that as compared to the standard language, it has more of informal functions that it performs, rather than high functions that is used for the official purposes, etc. And there are three important components of the meaning of the term vernacular. The first one is that vernacular language is an uncodified or unstandardized variety. The second one is that it refers to the way it is acquired. I hope you know what is codification. Codification, the process of codification is that when a language is it has dictionary in that, and proper grammar structures are given and books are written in that, and it is these are this is the process of codification, and it is done formally, right? And then we have the second is that it refers to the way it is acquired. So whether it is acquired at home as a first variety, or whether it is acquired at school, or maybe outside home as a second language. So it would vary. um, and if it is acquired as a um, in homes as a first variety, then it is considered as a vernacular. The third component is that it is used for relatively limited functions, and those limited functions are, for example, speaking at home, or maybe communicating with friends in informal communications and not in the standard communications, right? Is it clear so far? Is it clear so far?
Yes, ma'am, it
Yes,
is
ma'am.
clear.
Okay. Though sometimes people say that it is not the official language of a country, and however there are countries which are monolingual. Then what would happen in that situation? Can anyone please answer? If you have read this chapter, then you'll know. Right now we're talking about multilingual communities, right? So if there are multilingual communities, and one language is vernacular, so the other is considered a standard variety. Can anyone tell me if there is a language, if there is a monolingual country, then what would be the case with the vernacular language or the standard language? Yes, please. No answers? Are you all listening, or is it just that you don't know the answer? Are you all listening, or you don't know the answer?
Ma'am, here two examples: example of Spanish and example of Greece is have been given.
Mm,
So Spanish, a vernacular language in other countries where it doesn't enjoy that official status, or that is not used for the official purposes.
hmm.
But when it comes to Spain, so we cannot call Spanish as a vernacular language in Spain. Same as the case with Greek language. Greek maybe, in Italy or in the surrounding countries to the Greece or Cyprus, there that may be vernacular language there, but we cannot call it a vernacular language when we talk about Greece or Cyprus. So
Yes. So vernacular language, as I've told you before, is we're talking about communities, not necessarily of about countries. So, if, for example, if there is a country, and I mean they are monolingual countries, and the language is already standardized, already codified, and is considered as a standard language, then it has nothing to do with the vernacular language, right? However, there are languages in which we have high variety and low variety. In those high and low variety, one is considered as a vernacular language and the other is considered as a standard language. For example, as we say that, the Pashto, one Pashto is standard Pashto, because the others are not gone through the process of codification, or is not used for high purposes. So one one language is one variety, one dialect is considered as a standard language in that specific community, right? Claire, though it's not written here, but I hope it's clear. If there are high and low varieties in that case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. um as we've already discussed that, this vernacular language is not sometimes the language of the minorities as well, in communities. The reason is that um, this the language of the dominant is given importance and is used for official purposes. So automatically the language of the dominant in that region becomes a standard language and goes through the process of standardization, and naturally goes through the process of standardization, and the language of minority becomes a vernacular language. However, it might not be the case when we'll be discussing standard languages. I'm going to come to that point. Can anyone please tell me what is the standard language? Yes, please.
Um, the language that is used in newspaper and
Hmm.
and on television.
Hmm. Yes. Anyone else?
Yes,
Yes.
variety, the variety which gone through the standardization process, which is codified
Hmm.
and which enjoys an official status, which is used in the media, courts, as a medium of instruction in educational institutes. Uh,
Yes. Yes, good.
then they have high variety status.
Yes, a standard language or a standard variety is that variety which is codified and is used for high functions, right? Um, and and you can say for formal functions. So it is used in courts. It is used in for official purposes. That is a standard language. But for a standard language, uh, it is important for it to be codified. It is very important that the standard language is codified and it is determined on the basis of the function it performs um, in that a community. Though there is this confusion that is always there, just the way there is confusion in other terminologies of sociolinguistics, including variety and dialect and uh, other uh, other terminologies. So is the case with standard as well. As we've discussed that it is not all the languages which are codified, which are not which are codified would be considered a standard language. So I'll come back to the same example that was given by Mansoor, and that was the example of Spain. So if in Spain Spanish is codified, right? But if you take it to the language of the minorities, that is used as a in some other region, it is used as a vernacular language over there in that other community, but not in Spain. So, in that case, in that specific community, it is not a standard language; it is a vernacular language. But when it comes to Spain, within Spain, we cannot say that, right? We cannot say that. So, so just the way these are certain things that you need to keep in your mind when you're determining a language as a standard language or standard variety or a vernacular language. You have to keep these things in your mind. Uh, the second point that we have discussed is that so the language which of the majority, which is opposite to that of vernacular. The language of the majority is normally considered as a uh, standard language. Now, as I've already explained that, a language when it is used in for different functions. So because already people are in majority, and the language is mostly used in all of the domains in by majority of the people, so automatically the language which is spoken by the majority who are dominant in that region would become a standard language, and goes through the process of codification, right? However, it is not necessary that always the language which is the language of the majority would become the standard language. It may also depend on political and social functions as well. This is the social factor, that is, if the language is enjoyed, or if the language is the language of the majority. However, if the language is not the language of the majority, then there are certain political means through which a language is, codified and becomes a standard language. Can anyone give me an example, or just can anyone explain why it happens? Yes, please.
Maybe in case of Urdu in Pakistan, though that is not the language of the majority in Pakistan. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you. I was just yes, I just switched off the mic because I was coughing. Okay. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. So as we can take example of Pakistan. In the case of Urdu, Urdu is not the language of majority in Pakistan, but
Hmm.
still it is our official language or national language. So we can take because in Pakistan, Urdu, Pashto, Punjabi, maybe other languages, they are available in standardized form. But still, just Urdu is our official language, and that is our national language, because that has got that certain uh, we can say that political power. And Pakistan is multicultural and multi-ethnic country. So that is Urdu is just that is used for the unification of the whole nation, of the whole country. So that's why that is Urdu is given that status.
Yes, means that when it's not necessary that a language is spoken by the majority. Sometimes there are political reasons for which you like we have heard about Hindi Urdu controversy when this all started, even in India, this. Uh, this thought that which language is going to be the standard language, or which language is going to be the official language. This is always, you know major different different people belonging to ethnic groups, they or different communities, they want their own language to be the standard language or the official language. But for the official language, it is not necessary that it has to be a standard language. If it is a vernacular language, first it has to go through the process of codification, and then it will reach to the stage of official language. A language which is not written, or there is no dictionary in that, or it is not gone through the process of codification, cannot directly become a language, an official language, right? So the example that you gave was of the official language, but for the standard language, it is sometimes the political reasons for which it becomes, a standard language. And some campaigns are run so that a language becomes a standard language. So it formally people take it and run it through the process of codification and bring it in different high function, and use it for high function in, for example, courts or TV or newspaper, and then uh, it starts to become an official, sorry, a standard language. Clear? Is it clear?
I have a
Yes,
question. Yeah,
please.
yes, ma'am. I have a question. Like at the beginning of this chapter, uh, the
Yes,
example of Hindi or Hindustani is given, that is considered as a vernacular language. How come,
yes.
that India is a very large populated country, and majority of the people they speak Hindi or
Mm,
Hindustani. So
yes.
how is it included in vernacular language?
No, a majority do not speak Hindi. There are different, they have different provinces, and every province they have different languages. In India, if I'm not wrong, like it is the most like the most languages which are diversified languages are spoken in India. And not only
More
like
than
there, yes, I don't know how many languages, but you know, um, approximately, like there are almost 20 to 25 official languages that are there. So official languages means that they are using those languages in for high purposes, means standard languages. So Hindi is not spoken by everyone, and Hindi is not can be considered as a lingua franca, but not as a um, not as a standard language over there. It's a vernacular language. Are you getting my point?
yes, ma'am. It's fine.
Yes. And for a language to be a vernacular or standard, as I've told you before, that Pashto is also a standard. In Pashto, we also have a standard language. As I've told you, that this point is not written over here, but when it comes to how do you consider a language as a standard language and consider it, we have already discussed this in previous class as well. I don't know in which class, but I have explained it to you that if there are, let's suppose, five dialects of a language, let's suppose Pashto, and in the region in which the language the language which is spoken in the region which enjoys high status, or maybe the people are enjoying a high status, or that place is a hub of trade, then that language becomes the standard language. That language, among the other dialects or other varieties, becomes the standard one. Are you clear? So Hindi in itself cannot be considered as standard language, however, because it is not used for the um, in the sense that it is used for the for maybe for the daily communication and not for the high purposes, right? Every region in India has their own standard language. For example, here in Peshawar, sorry, here in KPK, Pashto is the, if, for example, if Pashto becomes the official language, because that's how it is in India. Clear? Is it clear, Mansoor?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Coming towards world Englishes, who will tell me about world Englishes?
May I, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, the word English is that there are different varieties of English are spoken or used throughout the world.
Yes.
So there is a Kashmiri American linguist, Karchu. So he has developed a kind of a model which has got three circles: the inner
Mm.
circle, the outer circle, and the extended circle. So in the
Yes.
inner circle, he has included the countries where English is spoken is L1,
Mm.
uh, like Britain, Canada, Australia. These countries, they are in the inner circle, and their English is spoken is L1. Then there is the outer circle where English is spoken is L2.
Mm.
English is a second language.
Yes.
So yes, there, a majority of the Commonwealth countries or which have been colonized in the past, like India, Pakistan, Singapore, Malaysia, and these countries where English is spoken as a second language.
Mm.
And in the extended circle, there, English, which is just used for communication or for official purposes, or where English is used and learned at school or colleges for the trade or for common communication, etc., like China, Japan, and other countries, Russia,
Yes.
etc. So they are.
Mm.
All right, ma'am. May I?
Yes, yes, please.
Well, when we talk about the word Englishes, even the term is a bit clear from the name as 1571 years ago when English came as a single language.
Mm.
And today it's considered, after 1571 years, when it's considered being a living language across the globe. It has many dialects. According to one journal by BBC issued, according to that, there are around 160 dialects of English. When we talk about dialect, it's a language within language or a different form
Yes.
of language within language. So it can be vividly deducted that if a dialect is a language within language, or it's a different form of language, or it's a language itself, so we can say that there are 160 kinds of Englishes around the globe. Giving example clearly from the Global Englishes by Jennifer Jenkins in the third edition, he has clearly given a depiction of uh, the spreading of English towards the world. And world Englishes means that there are different kinds of dialects spoken across the globe, which are considered as kinds
Mm.
of Englishes. In the past, we had English, but English is no more English. We have Englishes today because there are many
Mm.
varieties or kinds within English. So that is
Mm.
basically referred to as world Englishes because we don't have one English anymore today. We have Englishes, although the term is a bit vague or a kind of ambiguous for those people who are not having masters in English. It's a proper noun. How can we have proper noun as plural? But indeed, we do have it in the world
Yes.
today.
Yes. Okay, yes, you both are right. As the word suggests, world English is means that English is no more a native language of one specific region. We cannot say that English uh, belongs to a specific region. English after uh, this this uh, these colonies, when these colonies were created, because of this, English has become a world English is, because it is now spoken in different regions, and every region has its own variety, and that is why we call them varieties, because people have mixed it with their social functions, with different social functions, and how they act in the society. They add up different words to that, and they come up as a different varieties now, because different words are added. For example, nowadays Pakistani English is um, you can see that Pakistani English is developing, because different words of Urdu are even used in English, and we don't call it as code mixing, but uh, like we use our kind of English. Same is the case with Indian English, which is developed now, and the way Indians speak, even from the pronunciation, that this is Indian English. Same is the case with Singaporean English or Singapore English. These are the world Englishes, and they were created because of the colonies, not just because of the colonies, but It was also created because of the importance of the speakers, native speakers of English language. So it's not just the colonies, but it is because of the monetary gains that we can get through English language. And once it has entered into our monetary, like entered into our lives as something which is considered important before getting jobs or other means, automatically it has become the part of our daily conversations, and it has, taken up this um, proper varieties of that specific regions in which those languages are spoken. And that is why it is called as world englishes. World englishes is sometimes used as new englishes as well. These two terms are they both are used as, sometimes world englishes or sometimes as new englishes. Nowadays people use new englishes because if you search research work of different researchers recently, they're using new englishes as well, um, in world englishes. Once we're done with these two chapters, inshallah, in the next class, or maybe in the coming weekdays, I want um, half hour class with you, so that I can discuss some models with you, related to world englishes, though you're going to study englishes as a separate subject. But what if that subject is not offered? So because it's an important topic, so I want to discuss some topics with you, I mean models with you. Okay. So these are some of the reasons because of which this world englishes were created. Can anyone tell me that uh, what are the things that we keep in mind when we considered it as a different variety of English?
Um,
Ma'am,
a different. Okay.
Yes, yes, please.
ma'am, we look at pronunciation,
Yes,
vocabulary, grammar,
yes,
uh, local words from languages.
yes.
These things are considered.
Yes, it means that when it is similar to the variety, means if there are, what are the differences? So the differences can be grammatical, the differences can be of the pronunciation. For example, you can very easily identify a person who speaks who is a foreigner from the person who is Indian, who is speaking Indian English, or from the person who is speaking whose first language is, Urdu, and they are speaking English. You can very easily identify them. Even people who are Arabs, they, their English is completely different, the way they speak English. So uh, these are the ways in which we can identify that, it is becoming the varieties. Though Pakistani English is not a lot, it is not very developed as it is it is the case in Indian English or Singapore English, but which is also called Singlish. But uh, Pakistani English is also developing nowadays. Okay, I guess it was Manzoor who talked about Kachru's model, which is very important, and he has already elaborated it. But I'll just, for the ones who uh, wasn't able to hear him properly, I'll explain it again. So Kachru gave a model. I guess if it's on the next page, Kachru gave this model. uh, it's the inner circle, the outer circle, and the expanding circle, right? When we talk about English, where English is used as a native language and is the language of the, native speakers as the first language, this is considered as a inner circle, right? and in majority cases, they are majority cases, not all the cases. For example, not in Canada, it is they are monolinguals, right? However, when it comes to the outer circle, this is where we also come in. Though there was a defense in MS defense, I don't remember whose defense was that, one of your seniors. And in that, there was this conversation or discussion over um, whether English is used as EFL or ESL here in Pakistan. Can anyone answer?
The same case happened with me as well with Sir Zulfikar in my interview. We had a conversation of only on the same topic, English is ESL or EFL in Pakistan. And that conversation, even the same question answer took even more than 30 minutes.
Okay, can you tell me what was your answer to that?
Then the answer to that question, he said English is EFL or ESL in Pakistan. And I said, I can't answer in a single sentence. And he said EFL or ESL. And I said that
Mm,
it basically an exploratory answer and I can't answer it. I will need at least 10 minutes. And then he said at the end, he said, okay, go with that because he had no option. So it's pretty difficult to draw a demarcation whether English is ESL or EFL in Pakistan. It's a bit contradictory to answer. How? When we Google EFL and ESL, we can clearly see that EFL refers, directly you will see on the Google that ESL refers to English when you are learning inside the native community among the
mm,
native speakers, such as Australia, Canada, or America, UK itself. And when you Google EFL, it will directly come when you are learning English outside the native communities, such as, for example, Pakistan or India or China, rest of the countries. But apart from that, it was one of the aspects when we Google. Apart from that, when English is used for example, for official purposes, for educations, for rest of the official activities, then at that case, English can also be referred as ESL when it becomes the official language or rest of the activities, academic activities are